If you're a professional mixing engineer or producer and mix in a room that isn't fully acoustically treated, or if you want to save time, you need to watch this video. This video can help you mix with your eyes when there's no reliable room, and you can't just rely on your ears. I'm Yek, and in this video, I want to deep dive into the newly released plugin called Bloom. At the end of the video, we're going to test it on Hitsong's multi-tracks, and you in the comments section can judge if the sound improved or not to see how reliable this plugin is. Bloom is an adaptive tone shaper or kind of automatic equalizer that analyzes the incoming signal and applies corrections to the perceived tonal balance of the sound by cutting or boosting frequencies. Because of its adaptive nature, the corrections are constantly changing depending on the input signal. It makes the sound more balanced by automatically cutting unwanted elements and boosting where necessary. It works exactly like Soundtheory Gullfoss, which was released 4 years ago. Bloom automatically compensates for changes made in one frequency area by adjusting others to achieve a balanced sound. So, regardless of the name of any plugin, this feature can be so helpful while you're mixing in an untreated room. Why? Because if the room is not acoustically treated, you'll experience some frequency bumps or cuts due to the standing waves and nature of the sound. Let me know if you want a full video about that. So because of that reason, you're unable to judge with your ear if certain areas in your mix, like vocals or bass, need to be reduced, or if, because of standing waves, you hear certain areas louder. It could be really confusing, especially in low and mid frequencies. You may hear some frequencies even 20 decibels louder in an untreated room while you hear them right on headphones. For example, in my current room, I hear this kick too boomy, and I want to cut 200 Hz for a couple of decibels. But actually, it sounds really good and doesn't need any EQ changes. Only I hear it louder in my specific room. In this situation, something like an auto equalizer or adaptive tone shaper comes in handy because they can prevent you from making wrong decisions based on your untreated room. No, mixing with headphones was never an option because you can't achieve a great mix with headphones. So how do they work? I just read all their manuals to figure out their principles to achieve a balanced mix, but none of them mentioned their backend. What I believe is that they may use two options. 1. Pink noise. Developing a standard curve by analyzing too many sounds. For example, they analyzed hundreds of vocals and achieved general graphs, which I think the first option is much more logical to use. Alternatives. Soundtheory Gullfoss. I really admire the Gullfoss plugin because they developed these kinds of automatic equalizer plugins 4 years ago. It has been used by many top engineers like Alangelo and Baines to achieve more balanced vocals for the Weeknd and Young Thug. I'm going to load a pink noise generator to see if they suggest any changes first with Bloom. As you can see, surprisingly, it's trying to make even pink noise smoother, and since it's boosting some low end and dipping around 2K, it reminded me of the Fletcher Manson curve. Based on the Fletcher Manson curve, you hear the 2K area louder in lower volumes, and also, it's a problematic frequency range in mixing, which often we decrease. For those who might not know, pink noise is often described as having a flat spectrum, meaning that it has equal power in every octave, so it can be a good reference sound. How to use Bloom. Like the Soothe 2 plugin, it has one big main knob, which controls the amount of processing applied to the signal. Here, we have a squash range. When you go higher than 7, frequency-dependent upward and downward compression is applied, so you can use it as parallel signal. Also, we have attack and release, so we have more control over our parallel signal. The graph represents the relative changes applied to the signal, as shown by the solid black line. The purple area represents the parts of the signal present in both unprocessed and processed signals. The gray area under the middle line represents cuts. The white area above the middle line represents boosts. You can limit the frequency range of the processing by dragging the handles on the edges of the processing graph. The areas outside the processing range are shown as dimmed and are not processed. This comes in handy for sounds like synth bass. When it doesn't have high-frequency content, you have to limit the plugin so it won't process that frequency range. Otherwise, the plugin tries to boost it, which won't sound good. Use the tone controls to adjust the tone of the corrections made by Bloom. These corrections are made according to the spectral trend of the input. The tone is adjusted using the 4 tone control handles: lows, low mids, highs. You can listen to the frequency area most affected by the tone control by clicking on each band. Here you can put it on low latency mode. Also, here we have a mix knob. Since it's so important that the results would be familiar with the listener's experience, we're going to test it on some elements from Hit Song's multi-track that came out and worked well to see the Bloom's suggestion how close to the reality is. I don't say anything. Listen to each sound before and after, and tell us if it improved or not in the comments section. I play 3 vocals from Dua Lipa, The Weeknd, and Ariana Grande.
Aren't you the guy who? Aren't you the guy who?
So baby, come light me up, and baby, I'll let you on it. So baby, come light me up, and baby, I'll let you on it.
Know your motives, and you know mine. Know your motives, and you know mine.
What I've experienced using these automatic equalizer plugins like Gullfoss or Bloom is that in some cases they do not accurately work in low frequencies, below 120 Hz, and in high frequencies above 10K. They tend to boost frequencies in those particular areas. Scientifically, they may do the right things, but usually, in my own project, I didn't need that much boost in those mentioned frequency ranges. So you can easily limit the frequency range of the processing. Should you buy it or not? Before making a decision, it's a fact that these adaptive tone shaper plugins are in high demand these days, but it's better to explore all available options. There are 2 more alternatives to Bloom: iZotope Ozone Stabilizer and Soundtheory Gullfoss. They both offer trial modes so you can assess the pros and cons yourself. Since I use Soundtheory Gullfoss, this plugin didn't surprise me, but I believe that all 3 plugins do an amazing job, which can save time and make you feel more confident about your mixing or productions. Let me know what you think about all these plugins.